Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Practical Pet Chat. It is a wonderful time of the year where we're getting together with family, friends. We're all thankful. The seasons have changed and things are just really, I don't know. This is my favorite time of the year, fall. Love Thanksgiving. But with all of that comes some extra concerns for our pets, especially as we're having gatherings and more people in our house. Lauren, how do you safely celebrate Thanksgiving? Because there are so many elements to that that can be a cause of concern for pet parents.
Yeah, everybody, it seems like when I had my store, everybody would come and ask, is it okay if I make my dog a plate? And it was like, you mean a Thanksgiving plate with what exactly? And they said, oh, well, like what we're having. Okay, no. No. I don't even need to know what it is you're having. Just no. Because a lot of what we eat is carb rich, it's rich, it's heavy. It has a lot of spices in it. It can be creamy. It can be a lot of vegetation. It could have onions in it. Gravy. So, fats that the dog isn't necessarily used to. And all of those, along with the added stress of the occasion for what's going on in the house, that is a mixture for a vet visit, in my opinion. So, my general recommendation was, a little bit of turkey, if that's what you're doing, a little taste of whatever the meat is that you're going to have. But outside of that, all the other stuff is for human consumption. And they'd be like, oh, really? Not even just a little? Okay, well, you're going to do what you're going to do. You asked me, so this is what I'm recommending. And what I'm recommending is tough love, lots going on, stressful environment, limit the extras, limit the extra goodies that you're giving. And your dog will be super happy with a piece of turkey.
Yeah.
In my house, we have turkey tacos. So we don't do the conventional Thanksgiving. So it's not different from the normal in our house. And if we had a lot of people in an event type situation going on, and we did have that situation, my kids would be in another room so that they're not dealing with all of that excitement, all of the oopses, all of the sneaking a little taste of, all the things that they shouldn't necessarily have, the desserts, the sugars, all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I am, I'm, by the way, you won't come eat at my house for fear of me getting the
I
insect.
will not come to your house and eat.
Yeah.
I'll come to your house, but I don't want
I
to eat
have to,
anything.
I have to tell you, I am not coming to Thanksgiving dinner at your house for turkey tacos
Oh,
because
they're excellent.
I go all out. I am that is like my one of my favorite all-time days. And what's funny is it starts with the, homemade cinnamon rolls and just cascades from there. And so I am, yeah, no, you got to roll me out in a, cart at the end of the night. There's no way. And I just need to go 12 feet to the bedroom. So, but it is interesting because to your point, the problems come down to if you're also someone like me who has a lot of guests coming over, a lot of times they're bringing a dish with them. And so you don't know what they're putting in that dish either.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That is something that, you don't always know, not just the ingredients. You don't know what was mixed in there, what it was seasoned with, all the rest of that. Um, and so from the standpoint of just right off the bat, I agree with you. I always make Belle and Sugar and Zoe. I would make them just their own little safe plate, but it was very bare and sparse. They were not going to get, because one of the things that just always kills me is people think, oh, it's pumpkin pie. It's okay. Pumpkin is great for your dogs, and it's like No, it's not. You didn't use pure puree. You used the pumpkin pie, you know, mix.
Filling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that has all these extra ingredients and things in it that,
Sugar.
oh my gosh. And so the same thing with the stuffing. It's like, oh, really? Are there raisins in there? Are there onions in there? Are there? It's just so much easier, to your point, to say, okay, not going to do that, or this is the limited plate I'm going to have. And before you season it for, yourself, because that's the thing about it too, right? I mean, when I make the turkey, I've got like 700 different, blends and seasonings I'm putting on different things. Um, my dogs don't need any of that. So that is not going to happen. In fact, quite often I'll actually take a nice ground turkey and use that instead. So she's not actually eating the same.
Turkey tacos. Yeah.
No,
See?
Bella is welcome to go to your place. She
Yes,
would
she
probably enjoy
is.
that. Yeah, she would probably enjoy that a little bit, maybe a little bit more
There
than.
is no bad day to have tacos. That's all I can say.
Well, the tacos, I'm with you. But turkey tacos,
Turkey is the homage to the day. That's all.
okay, all right. It's still not coming by.
It's
Uh,
not it's ground turkey. It's not like, shredded turkey. It's ground turkey, like the dogs would have.
Okay. All right. I see where you're going. I'm just not going there with you. Uh, so, but here's the other part of this too that I think is so important, right? We got a lot of guests coming over, and it is so important that all of you are vigilant. And really, for me, and I was sharing this with Lauren earlier. I meet people at the door, and I am just like, "Oh, it's so great to have you here. Happy holidays, all the rest of that." By the way, Bella's perfectly fed. She doesn't need any food from you while you're here on your visit. So much so that it's almost a joke when people have come for different events and visits at our house. Uh, there is just too much of a tendency to let me slip this or let me slip that over. You've really got to be on top of that because again, people season their foods to the way they like it, extra salt, extra pepper, whatever it is. Your pets do not need that. The other thing too is, and you know this just comes around for decorating during the holidays. There are plants that can be really hazardous for your dogs, your cats, your birds, all of that. And yet, sadly, that's what some of the traditions are. And so it's really interesting. And if you're not familiar, there's plenty of lists out there. I'm not going to run down all of them here, but you've got to make sure you're vigilant in that as well, because this is that time of year where they're just all over the place. And then the last thing is if you're having spirits, and who doesn't have spirits, right? I mean, you take that from you know Halloween forward. There's a lot of spirits out there, but I'm talking about the alcoholic type in particular. Not that the non-alcoholic are much better these days. Um, that being set down, you got to make sure you're reminding people. Um, Bell is, and if you've got a cat, there's almost no safe place to be putting things. You got to be holding on to those. You got to be taking care of them. Much like I tell my daughters, your drink never gets outside of your hand because in this case it's a safety thing for your pets. And the last thing is people coming in and out of your house. You know, that is one of the more tragic stories. Oh, we are having an event and so, they came in, they left the door ajar just a little bit because they were going to get something out of the car. And nobody has seen Fluffy now for the past 2 hours. We thought she was just, resting in her own space. Turns out, no, she got out and she's running around town and having, a jolly good time. What an easy thing to prevent. So vigilance, vigilance, vigilance as we talk about the holiday season. Um, and I sometimes I feel like we talk about the negatives so much, but the positives, you know, really are there during this time of year. And you can have fun. You don't have to do all these crazy things to include your pets. They just want to be around people, but we didn't even talk about too, though, the fact that this is their house, and here we are cramming a whole bunch of activities. noise, stimulation, and that may be too much for some pets.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's nice to know that, hey, they're going to be out this amount of time and then they need to go inside, another room, bedroom, whatever it is, so that they get their time out and they'll appreciate that as well. But it's we want them part of everything we do, right? I mean, they're family. And I think the negatives, they're not so much negatives as reminders. We just want to remind you because it's just easy to get caught up in the fun and not think about those things. And we just want to remind you the things you need to think about so that that fun time doesn't end on a bad note. It doesn't end at the vet, doesn't end in a search party, looking for the dog gallivanting around town. And, we just don't want any of those bad things to happen. We want it to start and end very well and be positive all the way through. That's the only reason we do that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that jumps out at me is this is also a time when a lot of people are traveling. And so, you've got to make those plans for pet sitter, for boarding, for taking them with you on your trips. And that's another factor in the holiday season here. And in fact, I mean, so many folks drive these days. Are you going to be taking your pets with you? Are you going to be leaving them at home with a pet sitter? How are you going to approach those things? To me, I think that's another thing that I see where it throws off the schedule for your pets. And there's a lot of overreaction sometimes of like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. They're mopey. I got these pictures, I got this video. In my case, it's usually the opposite. Belle's having the time of her life, or Sugar and Zoe were like, yeah, hamming it up for the camera because they love the pet sitter. So make a plan for that. Have it. Don't. The mistake I see quite often is if you have not had a pet sitter at your house before with your pet, that can really throw them off. So have it done before. Whenever I boarded any of our pets, we always went leading up to it. And usually we'd go for a couple hours, come home, a few more hours the next time and come home, so that they knew when we went to that environment, that was not a, will I ever see them again? That was, oh, this isn't that bad. This is a little getaway. That's cool. Dad's going to come pick us up when, ever he's done. And in the meantime, I'm going to run with the pack if I don't run the pack. So things that you can do to help make that a better experience for your pets, make a plan for it, execute that plan, because that safety feeling across the board during the holidays really will allow you to enjoy what you're doing as much as you can, as opposed to being in that worrying mode. Because you know not having your pets right next to you is sometimes the saddest part of a holiday, right? So
Yes.
we
Well, and really that's what it comes down to, whether you're planning something at home or you're going to be away, everything is all about making sure you incorporate them into the plan. They need their
that's
own part of the plan, well thought out and organized and set up so that it's also part of the success of the total plan.
Yeah, and I like that you said that. One of the things you just said was having that plan, especially if you're someone like me who does make meals for their pet. You got to make sure that if you're boarding them, can they facilitate that? Do they understand that? And don't just switch out into a kibble only diet, and then the report coming back to you as, oh yeah, they're not eating the way that they probably do normally. Well, of course not, because you're not feeding what I brought stacked in all these containers, right? So having that plan, working with whoever the caregiver is, really going to make things so much better for your pets. But that one was one that called out. Um, yeah, there are so many things. I mean, I love the holidays. It's interesting. We were just talking about it as a family. It's we want to make sure wherever we're going, we can take Bella with us. And that is a shift from some of the discussions in the past of, oh, hey, we'd like to do this or we'd like to do that. Because I don't like to do a lot of plane flights and have my dogs come with. That it's just not great for them. And I've just had too many horror stories shared with me. So,
Yeah, me
factor
too.
all those into your plans and your designs. Love that. That being said, we do want you all to have a tremendous holiday season. And we are really thankful for all of you. We're hitting some milestones here as we have gotten deep into the year here. We started this off early in the year. We want to say a big thank you to all of you. We are thankful for you at this time for listening and encouraging us to keep doing this. We'll be here probably through the holidays. But that being said, reach out to us. Let us know what topics you'd love for us to be touching on. What things are you thankful for? Reach out to us, practicalpetchat@gmail.com. As always, Lorin will read your emails, share a few of them with me probably, which I'm always thankful for, Lorin. Thank you for reading the emails. Let me say this publicly. But again, you can do that on our social media as well, or wherever you're accessing the podcast, the vidcasts, all these different casts these days. You're the most important part of this. So for you, for your pets, have a wonderful Thanksgiving this year. I'm personally thankful for all of you and all that all of you are doing to make this a better pet world, especially my good friend Lorin. Thank you to you and your family as well.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks, everyone.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2025 Practical Pet Chat, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.